So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are the students from the Lesnoy, Russia, from Lyceum. Barbara?
And Christina.
The subject of our presentation is Pathways to Global Nuclear Crisis Prevention.
If you ask us a question, what is life for you? The answer will be quite simple. It is love, health, family, and happiness with children's smiles.
Life is impossible without peace. War is destructive and devastating, with massive casualties, sufferings, and deaths. What is it for? The humanity should understand that the horrors experienced by people of Hiroshima and Nagasaki more than 70 years ago can never be repeated. Never. We feel frightened when we think what would happen if a disastrous and awful nuclear war started now.
The world that we find ourselves in today makes the discussion of the risks posed by nuclear weapons all the more necessary. During the past 70 years, the use of nuclear weapons was considered several times. Moreover, accidental launches of nuclear-tipped missiles have almost happened.
We are concerned about it as we are from a nuclear-closed city where we live with our families and friends. Our participation in the project will give us a unique chance to share opinions on the issue of nuclear risk reduction in a time of international turbulence, to build friendship that will contribute to better understanding across cultures.
Will the current period of tensions come to an end? Is it possible to make actual progress in reducing the nuclear risk in a time of international turbulence?
How can global communities solve the current nuclear crisis? Is it possible to make nuclear disarmament in the world feasible? In doing our research work, we have answered all these questions.
William Perry, the former Secretary of Defense of the United States, points out the fact that the danger of some sort of a nuclear catastrophe is greater than it was during Cold War. Unfortunately, a lot of people are unaware of this danger.
Although the post-Cold War era saw a rapid decrease in the size of nuclear arsenals, our world has seen a recent increase in nuclear tensions. Not only have the United States and North Korea exchanged inflammatory rhetoric, but Russian and American leaders have increasingly emphasized the importance of nuclear forces to their own national security. Other regions in the world also continue to pose nuclear threats.
For example, Pakistan continues to develop new types of nuclear weapons, including short-range tactical weapons, sea-based cruise missiles, air-launched cruise missiles, and longer-range ballistic missiles.
India has already conducted its first deployment of a nuclear-powered submarine armed with nuclear missiles. A new generation of nuclear submarines could increase the risk of a devastating war between India and Pakistan, the two long-standing enemies.
North Korea is now widely believed to have missiles potentially capable of striking long-range targets, including possibly the US mainland. It also claims to have developed a hydrogen bomb and to be able to mount it on a missile. A series of successful missile and nuclear tests throughout 2017 demonstrated North Korea's growing power and military expertise.
Deteriorating diplomatic relations between the United States and Russia, the world's largest nuclear weapon states, in recent years have led to a more volatile global security situation. In October of 2018, the US administration under President Donald Trump announced that the United States would withdraw from the INF Treaty with Russia, accusing Russia of violations of the agreement. Many have argued that withdrawal from the INF will have significant negative consequences for arms control and nuclear disarmament, which would resume the new arms race between the two countries.
Moreover, the new START that was concluded between the United States and Russia in 2010 will expire in early 2021. Currently, there is no positive prospect that the two countries will have consultations to extend the treaty. If the new START expires and is not extended for the first time since 1969, the two countries will be in the situation without an active arms control treaty. This is a very dangerous situation in terms of the global nuclear weapons status. One of the global nuclear treaties is the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, NPT, which seeks to prevent the further spread of nuclear weapons, to promote cooperation in the peaceful uses of nuclear energy, and to pursue nuclear disarmament.
The 1987 Intermediate-Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, negotiated and signed by the US President Ronald Reagan and Soviet General Secretary Mikhail Gorbachev, was one of the most successful and most far-reaching nuclear arms reduction agreements in history. The treaty helped to bring an end to the Cold War and paved the way for agreements to withdraw thousands of tactical nuclear weapons from forward-deployed areas.
What we do understand.
But in February 2019, the US and Russia formally suspended the treaty. Without this treaty, there is a serious risk of a new intermediate-range ground-based missile arms race in Europe and beyond.
What we do understand is that nuclear weapons are extremely dangerous. They have not reduced international conflicts, and they should be banned. That is why there are so many treaties to stop nuclear proliferation, to urge nuclear states to disarm, to demonstrate the world that nuclear weapons are inhumane.
The Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, adopted in July 2017, offers a powerful alternative to a world in which weapons of mass destruction are allowed to prevail. It aims at preventing further proliferation, prohibits states parties from developing, testing, acquiring, stockpiling, and producing nuclear weapons or other explosive devices. It provides a pathway forward at a time of alarming global crisis.
The supporters of the treaty believe that it closes a legal gap for the prohibition and elimination of nuclear weapons, and finally establishes a pathway for the elimination of nuclear weapons, complementing the efforts of existing disarmament frameworks such as the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty.
Yet the treaty also faces fierce opposition. All 9 nuclear-armed states boycotted the UN negotiations and July 2017 vote. Supporters, skeptics, and opponents should put aside their disagreements over the banned treaty to find new and creative ways to work together on strengthening the non-proliferation and disarmament.
North Korean nuclear and missile programs have shown modest progress at the historic Singapore summit in June 2018. However, despite North Korea's claims of disarmament, there are many signs that their weapons progress have not been halted. Unfortunately, the summit has not yielded substantive plans for denuclearization.
We understand that nuclear weapons pose a constant threat to humanity and all life on Earth. The international efforts to advance the goal of eliminating the global nuclear threat have stalled in recent years, with nuclear-armed nations investing heavily in the build-up and modernization of their nuclear arsenals.
As long as nuclear weapons exist, there is a risk of their inadvertent or deliberate use.
The intermediate-range nuclear forces treaty crisis is a global security problem. Without this treaty, there is a serious risk of a new intermediate-range ground-based missile arms race in Europe and beyond.
The effectiveness of the measures inhibiting proliferation depends on the degree of international cooperation.
Now I suggest a short video
Today,
of the students involved in the CIF project this year who will speak about the urgent steps which must be taken right now to prevent global nuclear crisis.
Today, a danger of some sort of a nuclear catastrophe is greater than it was during the Cold War. Which urgent steps must be taken right now to prevent this catastrophe?
First of all, convince states that it is in their own best interest to forgo weapons of mass destruction. Unfortunately, the recent relations between nuclear weapon states have heightened the risk of a new arms race.
The next step is to reduce incentives for seeking nuclear weapons, for example, by raising the cost of proliferation to a state considering it.
I guess that people should take only diplomatic measures to forestall the development of weapons of mass destruction.
It's necessary to control proliferation through technical analysis of the production pathways for making nuclear weapons.
Materials necessary for building a nuclear bomb today are stored at hundreds of sites in more than 20 countries. I think it's necessary to secure nuclear materials to prevent catastrophic nuclear terrorism.
There should be control of export of nuclear materials and equipment, as it can provide information available for monitoring programs to develop nuclear weapons. In this way, we'll see the world with a very low numbers of nuclear weapons.
I believe that reducing the nuclear threats of the 21st century requires broad international cooperation.
Today, a danger of some
We share our students' views, and we would like to add that all these measures will be positive change for opening channels for communication within the international community.
We live in a world where risk of nuclear weapons being used is greater than it has been for a long time. But whatever the reasons, there should be pathways to global nuclear crisis prevention.
Firstly, take missiles or hair trigger alert. It will reduce the chance of an accidental, mistaken, or unauthorized launch.
Secondly, take only diplomatic measures to forestall the development of nuclear weapons.
Reduce nuclear warhead numbers by ending the US-Russian stalemate over strategic reductions.
We understand that both the ban treaty proponents and opponents should jointly reaffirm their commitment to achieving the total elimination of weapons of mass destruction at the UN General Assembly, the NPT Review Conference, and its preparatory committee meetings.
There should be more training centers for people from all over the world to enter the field of disarmament.
Officials from nuclear-armed states should strive to build bridges rather than deepen divides and narrow the gap between themselves and nuclear and ban treaty supporters.
In doing our research, we have come to the following conclusions. Any use of nuclear weapons would have catastrophic consequences.
There should be pathways to global nuclear crisis prevention while nuclear weapons still exist. A nuclear war would be the greatest catastrophe to the world, as it will kill lots of people, contaminate land and water, destroy industrial capabilities, damage the biosphere, and lower the quality of a human gene as a whole.
The INF Treaty crisis is the global security problem. Without the treaty, there is a serious risk of a new arms race in Europe and beyond.
The ban treaty will reinforce existing legal instruments on nuclear weapons, such as the Non-Proliferation Treaty, regional nuclear weapon-free zones, and the treaty banning nuclear test explosions. We understand that the effectiveness of the measures Preventing the global nuclear crisis depends on the degree of international cooperation. Despite the increasing risks of nuclear weapons use, we are optimistic that peace in the world can be achieved.
Our students would have made a dove of peace. It is a peace message for people in the world. It says that people should choose peace and love, treasure friendship and family, be caring and loving. There should never be wars and sufferings on earth, only life in peace.
We are glad to present this symbol of peace to the Institute of International Studies. We are grateful for engaging us in authentic research on the real topic of international importance. Peace in the world will be achieved.
Thank you. We are ready to answer your questions.
You mentioned incentivizing to get nuclear states on board. What do you think an incentive could look like?
Can you repeat your question, please? I didn't hear clearly.
All right. You mentioned incentivizing nuclear states to participate in denuclearization talks. How would you incentivize them to do that?
Speak a bit loudly. Yeah.
All right. I guess, how do you convince nuclear states to participate in denuclearization talks?
Well, thank you for your question. We think we'll ask them to think about people and humanity and protecting life on Earth, so they could probably negotiate about nuclear disarmament and stuff.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you for your great presentation. Do you think what we can do as a high school student in order to reduce the risk?
I think, well, it depends on teachers to talk about such problems in classes. I think it's not up to students to find some information. It's like we are very, very lazy today nowadays. We don't want to know anything. We don't want to get information by ourselves. So I think it's up to teachers to spread the ideas of non-proliferation and nuclear disarmament.
Thank you.
Thank you.